There's a specific sound 4 truck doors make when they close one after another in a driveway. And then there's the sound your car door makes, which is smaller, a little tinnier, and lands in the middle of the other 4, like a period at the end of someone else's sentence. Nobody says anything. Nobody has to. You've heard this sound enough times now that you could pick it out blindfolded, and every single time, for about 4 seconds, you feel it. Then it passes, the way it always does, and you grab the cooler out of your trunk and walk toward the lake with everyone else. This is the story of that 4 seconds and why you've spent 3 years choosing it on purpose. Marcus, Dave, Tyler, and Sean. You've known all 4 of them since college, and somewhere in the last 3 years, one by one, each of them ended up in a truck. Not because they needed one. None of them haul anything heavier than a cooler and a couple of kayaks twice a summer. They ended up in trucks because trucks became the thing, the way certain things just become the thing in a friend group without anyone ever formally deciding it. And once Marcus got his, the other 3 followed within about 14 months, like dominoes that had been leaning against each other the whole time, waiting for the first one to fall. Marcus went first. A 3-year-old model, financed, $610 a month. Dave leased his brand new, $790 a month before he even added the insurance. Tyler bought his used but rolled negative equity from his old car into the loan, so he's technically underwater on a truck he's owned for 8 months. Sean's is the newest and the loudest, a top trim with everything, $840 a month, and he's the one who talks about it the most, which tracks because the newer the payment, the more a person tends to need you to notice it. You drive a 9-year-old sedan you bought for $9,000 in cash from a woman 2 towns over who was moving and needed it gone by the weekend. It has cloth seats, a cracked piece of trim on the driver's door you've never bothered fixing, and exactly 1 payment left to make on it, which was the one you made the day you bought it, in full, standing in her driveway with a cashier's check. Here's the part nobody in the friend group has done the math on, including, until pretty recently, you. 4 trucks, combined monthly payments of roughly $3,040. Combined interest over the life of those loans, somewhere north of $31,000 in money that will exist for no reason except that borrowing money costs money. Your car cost $9,000 one time, and since then it has cost you gas, 2 oil changes, and a single new tire 18 months ago after a pothole outside your apartment did what potholes do. You didn't plan this as some kind of financial protest. You didn't sit anyone down and explain compound interest at a barbecue. You just did the math once, quietly, on a Tuesday night about 4 years ago, back before any of them had trucks, when you were all still driving the same kind of unremarkable cars everyone drives in their 20s, and the math never stopped making sense to you after that. Everyone else's math changed. Yours didn't. Now here's the number that actually matters, the one underneath all of this. The difference between your car payment and the average truck payment in that group, invested instead of financed, at a fairly conservative return, comes out to just over $218,000 over 15 years. Not from some genius stock pick, not from anything dramatic, just the gap between a $9,000 car and a $60,000 truck, redirected instead of spent, doing what money does when you leave it alone long enough. $218,000 is a down payment on a house in most of this country. It's most of a kid's college fund. It's the difference between working until 67 because you have to and having a real conversation about 60 with your accountant. And it started as the sound of a car door that's a little smaller than everyone else's. At the lake, Sean brings it up eventually, the way he always does, half joking, asking when you're finally going to get a real vehicle. Everyone laughs. You laugh too. It's not a mean joke, not really. It's just the kind of thing that gets said in groups where one person's choice quietly makes everyone else's choice look at itself in the mirror, whether anyone means it that way or not. You tell him your car gets you to the lake same as his truck does, and the conversation moves on, the way it always does, because nobody actually wants to keep talking about it once the joke's been made. What you don't say, because there's no version of saying it that doesn't sound like showing off, is that the sedan isn't the story. The sedan is just the visible edge of a decision that goes a lot deeper than a parking lot. A decision you made once and then just kept making, quietly, every month for 4 years, while 4 different trucks depreciated in 4 different driveways at 4 different rates that none of your friends check because checking would mean thinking about it. Dave's transmission goes 11 months into his lease. Leased vehicles aren't supposed to need major repairs, but a manufacturing defect isn't covered the way regular wear is, and the dealership's finding takes 6 weeks to argue through. 6 weeks where he's making a payment on a truck he can't drive while also renting something to get to work. He mentions the number to you one night, offhand, the way people mention numbers they're trying not to think too hard about. You don't say anything about your own situation. There's nothing to say that would help him in that specific moment except maybe knowing someone's listening. So that's what you do. You think about the $218,000 exactly once during that conversation, and then you let it go, because bringing it up would turn a hard 6 weeks for your friend into a lesson, and you've never been the kind of person who needs someone else's hard 6 weeks to make a point. Years from now, probably, the 4 of them will still be driving trucks, upgraded, refinanced, leased again, because that's just what the group drives now, the same way it wasn't always trucks, and one day it'll probably be something else. You'll probably still be driving something unremarkable, paid for in full, parked at the edge of the same driveway making that same, smaller sound. Nobody's going to throw you a parade for it. Nobody ever does. The 4-second feeling in the driveway doesn't fully go away either. Not even now. Not even once you've done the math enough times to know exactly what it's worth. That's the trade nobody tells you about going in. You don't get to skip the feeling just because you know better. You just get to keep choosing the math over the feeling, quietly, every single time, for as long as it takes to become a number nobody at the lake will ever see.